Hey everybody, Daniel here with ZCI Residential, your host of Ask the Local Expert, here with my co-host.
I'm Tyler Blott with Keller Williams Advantage Real Estate, and we are joined by our good friend and associate, Michelle Makarowski of Makarowski Law.
No, you got it correct, Michelle Makarowski. Pleased to be with you guys today.
All right, Michelle, so you're in family law, so I thought it would be good to start out with you divulging all of your attorney-client information about all of your people you work with.
I can tell you everything about every client I've represented. Or perhaps not.
So family law, what do you do?
Family law is, that's what we call it. It's divorce, dissolution, and then what we call post-decree action. So after you're divorced, you have a change in custody, you have a change in child support, spousal support issues. One party didn't sell the house when they were ordered to do so, even though we've connected them with Tyler. Or the party who's remained in the house has let it go to seed. We haven't connected them with Dan to get that roof done. I also do juvenile court actions, and those are related to unmarried parties who have children together. So those involve, I can do everything from a children's service action to establishing paternity for unmarried parties. We also have custody, child support, and parenting time, visitation orders, grandparent orders, and all the things that are involved there. And then also the big joy in my life with family law is that I get to do adoptions, and I love doing those.
I didn't even think about that. When you think about family law, usually it's, divorce, custody. So I'm sure a lot of people right now are wondering, how the courts are affected by COVID, how, the stimulus checks are affected with, child support maybe. So could you dive into that a little bit?
Sure. Most of the courts in Montgomery counties just pretty much put everything on hold. The other counties, the more rural counties that don't do as many cases and have bigger courthouse spaces, have continued to proceed with actions. But things are again gearing up. Just this morning, I did a final divorce hearing by telephone in Warren County. It went off pretty much without a hitch and took much less time than normal. A lot of the hearings, which are pre-trials, temporary order hearings, and the sort of smaller hearings are starting to occur by telephone. But because of the backlog, for anything that's filed right now, I would not expect to get an initial hearing on a non-emergency case until August. And when I say an emergency case, that means a case where there's a risk of violence to a child or to a parent, one of the parties. There has to be some level of violence for you to get an emergency hearing. And basically because they're doing everything first come, first served. And when you file now, you're at the end of the line.
Wow.
And just with the stay-at-home order, it was specifically stated by the governor that transportation for parenting time orders, as long as it was court ordered, is essential travel. So no one should have been denying parenting time during this period. That should have all still gone on. And now, if it didn't, there's some problems. We can look at making a contempt filing on that, but that should have occurred. And I think that most people got that message. There hasn't been a lot that I've heard about people not exchanging children for parenting time. The other issue that you mentioned is the stimulus check. And that was a piece of legislation that went through very quickly and didn't have a lot of real explanation on certain things. What it was included, though, is that if you owe back child support, they're going to take your stimulus check and apply it to that back child support. However, we're not quite sure what the tax implications are going to be with the stimulus check. So if parties were divorced in February of 2020, they got a joint stimulus check. They should have divided that. They should have been nice about doing that. I have at least one case going right now where we're going to have to file a court action because the one party got the stimulus check and kept the whole thing, and including the portions for the children, which was another $2,000.
Wow.
So yeah, but again, that's not going to be an emergency hearing. We're not even going to get a ruling on that probably until September,
Right.
which is the pandemic has caused a lot of problems, but access to justice is still available. It's just delayed.
Tyler, did you have any follow-up on that? That's super interesting.
That is really interesting. So it sounds like injured parties on the stimulus may not see any money. If we start hearing cases in September, till potentially October, November, long after the initial checks were issued. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I hate to say that, as attorneys, most of us, there aren't a lot of attorneys who do family law. I mean, there are a decent amount, but we generally know each other. And with local attorneys, I can call them up and say, hey, your person didn't hand over their share of the stimulus. Let's get that done before there's a court filing, save our parties those attorney fees. And we can usually get that done. It's when you have one party who's just completely recalcitrant and will not hand over that money, they feel entitled to it for some reason. The court's not going to agree with those reasons, but yes, you are looking at people who are not going to get that stimulus money, and that is very difficult for some families at this time. You have one party who got, like $4,400 and is keeping it, just keeping it, and another party who absolutely needs that money who got nothing. And we're having to take that issue to court. Now, when it comes to court, I'm pretty confident that money is going to come my client's way, and that other party is going to be forced to pay my attorney fees to force him to pay that money. But there's no guarantee, and it doesn't help now. She can go get a credit card, but you're looking at interest charges. But if bills don't get paid, that's ruining someone else's credit. It's a very difficult situation for people right now.
Absolutely.
You touched on something, Michelle, that I wanted to circle back to. She mentioned earlier saving her clients on attorney's fees by getting certain types of resolutions. And that's something that I've seen from Michelle time and time again. While she may be a divorce attorney in some cases, I've heard her, be a proponent of, mending the relationship first, or getting counseling before employing her services. So if you need something like that, she can be a really valuable resource to know the good next steps. And it's not always going to be about, direct business for her. So anybody with any questions, please reach out to Michelle. Just wanted to make sure we touched on that.
Well, and just to follow up with that, Dan, I have people who've been, and I'm going to put in some dismissive finger bobs here, stuck together for a period of time now. Some cracks in the marriage are starting to show. And people are wondering, should I get out of this marriage? Is this something I want to do? And one of the main questions they have for me is, what does my financial future look like if I terminate this marriage? What does it look like for the kids? And I have parties come in for an initial consultation and go over that. And I'm always sure to tell them, hey, this is what it's going to look like for you. Is that really what you want? Or can your marriage be saved? And sometimes people just need to know what it looks like to know whether or not they want to put in that work to improve that marriage, to make things get better. And I will refer to family therapists, marital counselors, and I will have those counselors actually refer back to me when it becomes clear that can't be done. But people should, I believe, try to make it work before they go that extra step of getting a divorce or a dissolution. And honestly, I can't sell anyone a divorce, and I wouldn't even want to try. But if you're to that point, that's what I'm here for.
So what is the difference between a divorce and a dissolution?
A dissolution means that everything is negotiated before there's a court filing, and then you have your court hearing. With the divorce, or you have your final court hearing. With the divorce, you file a divorce complaint, and then generally you negotiate everything and come to an agreement. Most divorce cases do not go to trial. A lot of people think that a divorce means it's going to be more contentious. That's not exactly true, or divorce will be faster. So if I start a dissolution process, that means me and the other attorney, we work together to agree upon a separation agreement and a shared parenting plan or custody plan, and we have all of that agreed to before we file in court. It can take 6 to 8 months to get your clients to agree to all of that. And in the meantime, you have no ability to force the matter along. Now, for parties that are getting along, dissolution works great. You can get it done. The parties are agreeable. They've shared all the relevant information. You come to that agreement. You tweak the language. Once you file in court, you usually have your hearing within 42 to 45 days. Sometimes, well, it's going to be a little bit longer now that we have the COVID issue, but they're still getting those in. With the divorce, when you file that complaint, you can then force the other person to respond, force them to give over documents. You can use subpoena power to get things from the bank. And there's a lot of trust involved in a dissolution because you have to trust the other side to have given over all the information. With a divorce, you can actually get, sorry about that, you can force the other party to give the information, and you can subpoena a lot of bank records and things like that. Retirement is generally a big issue when I'm dealing with cases. So getting that information is really the big difference, is that you either start with agreement and then file, or you file in court first, force things along, and then generally come to an agreement. And I'm just going to add in that I mentioned shared parenting there in custody. I wanted to talk for a hot minute about that. A lot of people think that shared parenting means 50-50 equal time. It does not. Shared parenting means that the parties share equally in the decision making for the child. So they decide on religion, school, medical, and all things like that, sports, activities. Shared parenting is shared decision making. And with shared parenting, the actual time that each party has with the child can be, 50-50. It can be one parent having only every other weekend. One parent could live in California, the other in Ohio, and if they agree and they communicate well, they can still have shared parenting, although they certainly don't have 50-50 time. So that's a big misconception. With legal custody, it means that one parent makes all the decisions, although they generally have to inform the other parent of those decisions, but one parent has all the decision-making power.
So one of the things that's hotly contested, I would assume, in divorce proceedings is real estate. How is that handled by the court, and what are the implications there?
Well, if it goes to court, generally the court's going to order it sold. If you cannot come to an agreement, the court is going to order the property sold, and then order the proceeds divided. And you start with dividing that 50-50, but then you look at, well, one person brought $20,000 into the marriage, we can trace that money, so that person should get the first $20,000 off the top, and then divide, and things like that. But most of the time, what the parties will agree to is that one party is going to keep the real estate, and then they have a certain period of time to refinance that. And they can do their refinancing with Dante Zampetti of Movement Mortgage if you've had him on. But the one party will be required.
Now is a great time to do that too. Dante will tell you. And he's definitely not too busy to take those calls.
He's not. He needs more business. But yeah, one party will have a certain period of time in order to refinance the home, and they have to pay the other party their share of the equity out. I personally, I tend to prefer that my clients sell the property because one, it's a hot market. You're going to get a good price. You can take those proceeds, and generally neither party needs the large family home that they've had together. They can move into something smaller, especially if their children are older and they've moved out. So really, I am a big fan of selling the real estate. Not everybody wants to do that. They have an emotional attachment to their home. And then 2 years later, they call me and say, yeah, I should have sold. Now I'm going to sell. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do the real estate. But if it goes to court, generally the court is going to order the property sold because that's the easiest way for the court to divide it. You can't cut a house in two, so they just sell it and split up those proceeds.
You know, you say that, but I've seen people try. Have you seen some of the cracks in foundations?
That's your business. That's your business. And I believe Tony Berselli of LJC Construction can help you with your foundation problems.
He can.
Okay, so you touched on, I have a list here of a couple things that I wanted to talk about. You touched on the shared parenting and custody. What about the difference between parenting time and visitation?
A lot of people think that parenting time, that the court a while back changed the wording from visitation, which sounds too much like fun, and they've decided to call it parenting time when it's another parent. So grandparents can get visitation, aunts and uncles can get visitation, but parents get parenting time. Because parenting time means that you're sitting at a soccer tournament for 8 hours, and you maybe interact with your child for 15 minutes, and in those 15 minutes they ask you for money and food. But that's what parents do. Parenting time is being thrown up on, it's changing diapers, it's dealing with a sick child. So they changed the wording from visitation to parenting time to make clear that the parent getting that time is supposed to be engaging in active parenting during that. You don't not have parenting time because the child is sick. It means that the other parent has to provide the parenting and the care for that child while that child is sick. Now, you certainly don't want to be moving a sick child every, constantly over a weekend to effectuate parenting time, because that's just not good for the child. But at the same time, you want to make sure that each parent is engaging in parenting time and actively providing care for the child and not just being fun. I mean, I know there's the term Disney dad, but there are Disney moms out there too, and the court's done with that. No, it's not just happy fun time, it's parenting. And as you gentlemen both know, parenting is not always happy fun time.
Right. I can't say, well, I'm not taking care of him. He's sick. This is visitation time. We're having fun.
Yeah. Is every moment fun though? When they're throwing up down your shoulder?
Nope. We've gotten thrown up on probably 6 times in the last 2 days with our youngest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that fun.
No.
I'm going to be right there with you when we have ours next month. Okay, I think that covers most of the questions I had. Tyler, did you have anything else, or Michelle, anything else you think would be valuable for people during this time?
Tyler, did you have anything?
I think that covers everything that was in our list. Unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me sitting here in the car, but what's the best way to get a hold of you if people do have questions about their options?
I have my website, which is www.mmm, as in Michelle Marie Makarowski, lawllc.com. So that's www.mmmlawllc.com. My phone number is area code 937-886-7636. Again, 937-886-7636. I'm doing appointments by Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, telephone, and I'm also, with appropriate precautions, having clients come in for appointments. We do a lot of Lysol. We have a place to wash hands. We can do masks. We're trying to work towards your level of comfort. And I did want to mention that I'm a family law specialist. Any attorney could file a divorce, but I've gone through the process to become a specialist. I do almost all my work is family law, so I really know what I'm doing with it. A lot of attorneys, if you have your probate attorney or your corporate attorney, they're really good at what they do, but they're not really good at family law. You want someone who really knows what they're doing. You don't hire your commercial real estate person to sell your house. You want someone who knows what they're doing with your local market. It's the same thing with family law. You want somebody who understands family law and is familiar with the court where you're going to be filing. And I practice in, this is a big list, Montgomery, Warren, Greene, Clark, Champaign, Preble, Darke, and Miami counties. So I will handle cases in all of those counties. I'm familiar with all of them. I know all of those judges and magistrates, though that doesn't give me any bonus. It just means that I know how they like things done.
Right.
I really think it's important for people to get local attorneys who specialize in family law when they're going to file a divorce or proceed with a dissolution.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is hire the right professional to get the job done. Is that right?
That is a good, excellent way to put it. Yes, hire the right person to do the right job.
And she's on this show, everyone, so you know she is a verified expert.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, have a great day.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.